for the public session is the Triennial Agreement between local authorities and the Canterbury region. I know that one of my colleagues has something to say about that, so he better hurry up and get back into the room. I thought that well, I'll move the motion. So do I have a seconder? Phil. Right. I thought, because I mean it would be, yeah. Anyway, look. What I want to say is that it is my privilege to now be the chair of the Canterbury Mayoral Forum. Actually, I don't even know whether this has been reported. This might be breaking news. I was elected at the first meeting of the Canterbury Mayoral Forum, but the Canterbury Mayoral Forum did not meet within its normal time frame because of the Kaikoura Huranui earthquake. And because of the earthquake, it got held over, and at the first meeting, which was this year, wasn't it, I was elected as the chair. Now, that's an incredible position of responsibility, but also taking over from Dame Margaret Baisley, who used the chair's role to really drive a regional agenda. And that's what I wanted to talk about at the meeting this morning as we consider the draft triennial agreement. And that is that in Christchurch, we've got an economic development agency, CDC, and it has led the development of the Christchurch Economic Development Strategy. In fact, I went to the launch of it before I was the mayor, and it was just prior to the earthquakes that it was, it must have been after the earthquakes that it was refreshed. Or the work may have been going on before. But so we've got a Christchurch Economic Development Strategy. Under the leadership of Dame Margaret, what was established was a Canterbury Regional Economic Development Strategy, with the focus areas being led by different mayors. And one of the wonderful outcomes of that Regional Economic Development Strategy was the whole focus on getting rural broadband, 4G, into the regions, and Mayor Damon Odie from Timaru actually led that part of the Canterbury Regional Economic Development Strategy, and there are other foci of the strategy as well: visitor strategy, education, and training, and migrant settlement, and of course the roading network, which has a joint committee regionally that drives that work as well. And so with a number of different areas, there's a lot in common between the Christchurch Economic Development Strategy and the Regional Economic Development Strategy. So by taking on the role of chair of the Mayoral Forum, we have firmly put on the agenda for this triennium the merging of the economic development strategy for Christchurch and the one for the region. And one of the reasons why I think this is really important is that Christchurch is completely interdependent on the region. So Christchurch wouldn't be what it is without the region, but the region wouldn't be all that it is without having an international gateway city on its doorstep. So the relationship between Christchurch and the region is going to be the focus of my leadership of the Canterbury Mayoral Forum over the next 3 years. And when you think about New Zealand, and you think about the powerhouse that is Auckland, and you think about, do we need a counterweight to Auckland? The counterweight is where Christchurch sits in Canterbury, sits in the South Island. And if you think about our gateway status, you think about the international flights that our airport company has been able to come and land directly into Christchurch. That is an enormous benefit to the South Island, but it's actually an enormous benefit to people who fly here as well, because they are bringing visitors to where they want to be. When you look at the advertising that's done for New Zealand overseas, in terms of what is attractive to visitors to Christchurch and to fly to New Zealand, if you actually think why they want to come to New Zealand, the images are overwhelmingly of the South Island. It's where our visitors want to be. And so I see my role as the chair of the Mayoral Forum as an extension of my role as the Mayor of Christchurch, but also bringing that integration between Christchurch and the region, but then reaching out from the region to the rest of the South Island. And I think that puts us in an incredibly powerful and strong position for the future. So that's why I was wanting to move the approval of the draft triennial agreement and look for this council's support. Thank you. Phil.
Look, I want to support it too. I guess from having been on what was the Urban Development Strategy and now the Greater Christchurch Partnership, I certainly appreciate the value of working with our neighbouring territorial authorities. And I think if we've learned anything over the time of the earthquakes, and also particularly in the last week around with the fire issues, we know the value of actually working together and collaboratively. And working collaboratively sounds easy, rolls off the tongue easy, but in fact we know it takes a lot of talk and hard discussion and fine-tuning. And the areas, in fact, though, that the Mayoral Forum attends to are really paramount for all of us. And so that whole area of natural hazard risk is right in there, as well as transport and the regional water strategy. And a number of other elements. They're also important, I think, for the mayors and leaders of the region to have those initial discussions, so that when it comes to the other regional committees, that in fact we're prepared and we get on the same page as soon as possible to achieve the best results, not just for Christchurch but for Greater Christchurch and the whole of Canterbury. So I think we need to be clear. And the report is clear, and I'm sure we will get we'll receive clear reports on the discussions that the Mayoral Forum have.
Is there anyone else that wants to contribute to the debate? Yanni and then Glenn.
Yeah, thanks. Well, first I just want to say thanks for sitting around. Thanks for sitting around that website. I think actually I was heartened by the fact that... Would you
like to say what the website is? I'm not interrupting you, but it would be good advertising.
Unfortunately, it's one of those websites that's got a very long address that doesn't have any relevance to what's actually on it. I can tell you, it's canterburymairs.azure, A-Z-U-R-E, websites, websites.net.
Right, we can do that. It's totally what you would look up. Yeah.
So...
Right.
Okay, canterburymairs.org.nz. It forwards to that site, so there you go.
So I just want to make the point that, you know, this has been quite a contentious forum, and I think the important thing is, though, to separate out the Mayoral Forum from the triennial agreement. So, I mean, I'm really supportive of having a triennial agreement. I think it's really important that we do that. It would be good to meet with, and I think we've started to do that with Sam Broughton hosting us in Selwyn, to have a regular meeting between the council laws and the elected members from ECAN, and the commissioners, of course, or the ones that are appointed. But just to say that it's good that in terms of 3 years ago, I think we were really concerned about the transparency. The website, I think, is a really good start to dealing with that, making that information accessible, open and transparent, because that was one of the criticisms several years ago. I think the other thing, though, is, as was said, the triennial agreement commits the council to working collaboratively with the other councils within the region, and you know, it's unfortunate in the document it doesn't really spell out, and maybe you can just take this on board as chair, that spell out actually what those structures are in place, because we're not asking, I hope, for a huge duplication of work to be done by the Mayoral Forum on the other things that are already underway collaboratively. One thing that is missing from here, which I just, you know, possibly seek an amendment or some work to be done, that I think one thing that's not mentioned in the triennial agreement is work around a regional funding for the major regional facilities. And I think, you know, it would be really good to signal that that was a key piece of work that should happen. So I just pass that on, just to say that, yeah, in terms of the Mayoral Forum, I think, again, the important thing is that that isn't signing us up to do things as a city that the other councils want to force us to do. It is actually about working together and having good communication between each of the mayors so that they can report back to us as a council to get either a mandate for things that they're thinking about or for direction on what way we might want to go. So, I think fundamentally it's good that we have these agreements, but we do need to always make sure that they are transparent in terms of how they operate and have good public transparency over decision making as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, who was next? Glenn.
Yeah, thank you. And transparency was one of my key words. I'm really pleased that the chair of this forum is now, the Mayor, Christchurch City, and I hope that will enhance the transparency, just given the history there. The fact that we have difficulty actually tracking down the web link says a lot, I think. So I think if we can promote that, have greater line of sight on the work of the forum, that will help a lot. But yeah, Yanni's really captured, I think, the main issues here.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So did you want to move an amendment?
Well,
I'm glad that you're doing it after I got elected.
Well, I'm happy to if we can.
I'm
happy
to take that on board and come back on it.
Yeah, we could just make a note if you want.
Yeah, could you put note that there is potential for regional facilities. Can I put /services, because that is actually one of the purposes of the Triennial Agreement. There is potential for regional facilities /services to be co-funded through the mayoral forum. I mean, it can't take effect without everyone signing off, but that is a basis where it could be discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, there's to be co-funded through recommendations from the mayoral forum. So that, yeah. And I can undertake to have that put on the agenda, just not for tomorrow's meeting.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Right. So I will put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And now